We're going to read Gail Gibbons' Surrounded by Sea, Life on a New England Fishing Island. And we're studying about New England, so I thought this was an appropriate book. And there's the island. Reminds me of Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard. And it is surrounded all around by sea. The ferry rests at the end of the wharf. It brings supplies and passengers from the mainland to the fishing village. Most of the passengers are island people who spent the winter on the mainland and are ready to return home. The greeters on shore are island folk who stayed on through the winter. Now it's the beginning of a new season. The daffodils are blooming and the tulips are up. It's spring on the fishing island. Different kinds of boats bob about in the harbor waters. Are all the different boats. Along the shore, near the general store, some fishermen have beached their boats. There they scrape and clean barnacles and algae off the bottoms of the boats. Some boats get a fresh coat of paint. Against the harbor shoreline are workshops built on pilings nestled among the rocks. Empty lobster traps are piled on the wharves. Inside one of the workshops, a lobsterman gets ready to set his traps. First, he overhauls his traps by fixing the older ones. The older traps are wooden. The newer traps are made of plastic, coated wire. He cuts lengths of rope called warps, to connect buoys to the traps. This lobsterman paints his buoys red and white. Each lobster fisherman or fisherwoman uses his or her own colors to identify the buoys. The lobsterman sets out early the next morning before the sun is up and when the seas are calm. His lobster boat, stacked high with empty traps, leaves for the harbor. His boat bobs on the waves along with all the other lobster boats. He works with his partner called a sternman and drops the traps overboard one by one. The sternman is working at the back or the stern of the boat, while the lobsterman steers the lobster boat. Each day they will bring more traps out to sea until all the traps are finally set. Then the lobstermen are ready for the new season. The lobstermen haul their traps almost every day. When they are catching more lobsters, they haul more often. This is how a lobster trap works. So there's the buoy, and it goes down to the trap. This is the warp, which is that string. Then the lobster goes in. So it says, first the lobster goes after the bait in the kitchen, which is inside the trap through the fishing head. So there's the kitchen, the fishing head, the bait. The inside, this is what it looks on the inside. Then the lobster tries to get out, but it's trapped in the parlor. So it sounds like a little house, the kitchen and the parlor. Above the island, a small plane is approaching the gravel runway. It's a mail plane. Bags of mail are delivered to the post office and the general store. The storekeeper on the island is also the postmaster. While the islanders wait for their mail to be sorted, they chat about the weather and the island news. All around the island, vegetables and flower gardens are planted. Along the shore, islanders dig for clams and hunt for mussels during low tide. That's a really fun thing to do when you're at the beach. It's summer on the fishing island. Now, what a busy place the island is. There are more people. A small ferry brings summer people and more supplies. It goes back and forth to the mainland more often than the big ferry does. An island caretaker gets one of the summer cottages ready for a group of people who come to spend the summer on this beautiful, remote island. It does look really, really lovely. lovely. Makes me think of summer and looking forward to the summer. Everyone on the island comes to the 4th of July lobster bake. There's a big party on the beach that lasts all day. It ends with fireworks over the water at night. Twice a week in the summertime, the farmer's market is open. Island people bring fresh vegetables from their gardens to sell. There are baskets of berries that grow wild on the island. Freshly baked pies and cakes are for sale. There are handicrafts made by islanders, and one island boy sells his painted seashells. It's a good idea. And what's next? A red hot dog truck is parked on one of the wharves. Islanders and summer people stop by to pick up food and snacks to eat in the warm sunshine. Children play along the shoreline. They wave to the people in the boats offshore. One of the lobstermen hauls up a trap and pulls out a lobster. He measures its size to make sure it's not too long or too short. Lobsters that are too small or too big get thrown back into the sea. This one is just the right size. The fisherman bands on its claws so it won't pinch him or any of the other lobsters he catches. He drops it in a bin filled with other lobster. So those little elastic bands on the claw so that claw doesn't snap them. The sternman puts a fresh bag of bait into the trap and drops the trap overboard again. At the end of the day, they will sell their lobsters to a lobster buyer who, in turn, will sell them to the stores and restaurants on the mainland. Now it's fall on the fishing island. It's quieter along the harbor shore. The summer people have gone home. Summer cottages and homes are shut down by island caretakers. Only the people who live on the fishing island remain. The small island ferry that went back and forth during the summer has stopped its trips. Now the big ferry goes back and forth to the mainland only about once a month. So things definitely slow way down. Everyone starts to get ready for the colder weather. But the fishermen are still very busy. All kinds of fishing boats move along the horizon. So this is the underwater view here. This is a trawler pulls a fishing net to catch fish. Scalloper hauls for scallops at the bottom. A dragger drags its net over the ocean bottom to catch fish. A long liner catches fish on hooks attached to long lines. Sorry, I want to be able to see this. And a sea net catches fish with a net close to the surface. So if you take a peek at all of those different kinds of boats that work really hard throughout the year to catch fish for us. The island children go back to their one-room schoolhouse where their teacher greets them. At the town hall, the very small library remains busy. Some of the island people harvest their gardens. Other island folk take boat trips to nearby islands to pick cranberries. Over near the church, a few islanders spruce up the fire engine and give it a good bath. So everyone's still busy in the town. Off in the distance looms a huge tanker, making its way toward an inland river. The captain needs assistance to navigate through the waters. One of the lobster boats is also a pilot boat. It brings the pilot, someone who knows this part of the ocean, out to the tanker to help guide it into port. So here's the tanker. Here's the boat going out just to give it a hand, give assistance. Oh, so pretty. In the winter on the fishing island, it's very quiet. Some of the fishermen and their families have gone to the mainland to get away from the cold, harsh winter. Now only the hardy souls remain. Snow falls to the ground. After school, children make snow sculptures and skate on the ice pond. During the cold nights, lights glow from the island windows. The beam from the lighthouse shines in the distance. The island has its own generator-run power company. microwave tower on the island picks up and sends phone signals to and from the island so the residents can make calls. Some lobstermen still haul their traps on clear days. Otherwise, they work inside their warm shop mending traps. Inside their homes, folk make handicrafts to sell at the farmer's market next summer. So she's working on a quilt and sewing up and knitting some mittens. The people that stay behind love their island home. There they will stay through the winter. Soon spring will return to the fishing village out at sea, and once again the island will be a very busy place. There it is, so pretty in the winter. That's a great book about island life. Thanks for joining. Bye.